Movie 20, we are going to begin the hair. I have the Wacom tablet all plugged in and ready to go. And I'm going to show you first, before we get into the Wacom tablet and doing the actual hair, I have brought up another file that has hair solved on it. And I also want to first show you that on my Mac, whether it's a Mac or a PC, we have to go into the preferences, and you have to make sure in your control panels that you've actually downloaded the Wacom tablet driver. And in the Wacom tablet driver, you can actually click on the functions button. And I've disabled all, because I'm left-handed, or I use my Wacom tablet pen with my left hand. So these items here that are on my particular Wacom tablet, I don't want my hand or finger to touch these items, so I've disabled them. But I've actually called these ones here on this side of my Wacom tablet. I have these which are on my right hand side. These two here toggle the brush. This is the option key, so I can use it to eyedrop when I'm in the brush tool, and this is my pan and my scroll button. So the actual pen on the grip pen, I've actually have this as a double click, and the bottom of the grip pen is a right click. So first thing, you have to go to your functions and your grip pen and tell it what to be, and you can name it, of course. And then I'm going to close the control panel, because now with it installed on my machine, Photoshop will actually understand what it is I want to do because I have a Wacom tablet driver. So when I go into the brush palette, so I'm going to click on Window and Brushes, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to actually turn on Shape Dynamics. See how I have it checked? Watch this icon down here. If I turn it off, then the icon goes to equal thickness, equal length, equal everything. If I turn on Shape Dynamics, it means that it's going to allow pen pressure. See how I put this on pen pressure? It's going to allow pen pressure. The more you push, the wider the stroke. The less you push, the thinner the stroke. So I'll show you that in a second. So all I've done is turn on Shape Dynamics and smoothing. Everything else on here is off. Okay? So basically, on the brush tip shape, everything remains the same. My spacing, please make sure it stays at 25. All right? Yours should always be on 25. And then I'm going to close the brush, but on Shape Dynamics, just turn the size jitter to pen pressure. Okay, and that's basically all you'll have to do. I'm going to close that. So I'm going to show you, if I put my cursor here, I'm going to hit the toggle switch to make that bigger, just so you can see my brush is bigger over here. If I want to right click, I simply use one of my buttons on the pen, or I can go to my keyboard and hit the control key. It's the same thing. I'll hit the return key to close that. So a double click would be the upper part of the pen, but in order to show you how to really start to use this, I'm going to hit Command tilde and go to my other file, because I've already got a bunch of hair done on this figure here. So I'm going to move my screen over just a little bit, and I want to actually back off on the size of this just for a second. And then I want to move this up just a second. Okay, because what I've got, and I have a practice hair layer, but the layer relationship, let me move this over. The layer relationship to the hair remains the same as the layer relationship to everything else, except you're going to have a bunch of more stuff on each layer. Let me make a point. So before I make that point, I want to go down to the bottom of this palette, and I want to close my undertones. And I want you to see on this side, first I'm going to turn off the overtones. So let me go up. I should have done that first. First I'm going to go up, and you can see how many layers make up the overtones. I'm going to turn off all the overtones on her left-hand side. It's your right-hand side as you're looking at her. Now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to turn off the undertones. So basically, I have filled in a solid value, and then upon that solid value, let me show you the layer for the solid value. You can see it right, let me go up to where that is, and it is going to, oh, I have to open up undertones, silly man. And now let's go down and see where that is. So you can see on this side here, if I turn that off, there is my large undertone for, and it's a solid tone, for her left-hand side. Here it is for the other side. Now, I'm going to go up and I'm going to leave that on, and I'm going to show you that this file has exactly the same thing. So when I go Command tilde, she's got exactly the same thing. I'm going to start, let me turn this off again. I'm going to start painting here's my undertones for this side, right over here, okay, and that for the whole hair. So now I'm ready to begin the stroke manipulation. So in order to see that on her, I want you to see that as I go up and I move up to the overtones for that part of her. Let me find where I put that. Okay, so the overtones are right here. Let me click it on. And now if I zoom in, I want you to see this area right here. I'm going to manually pull some of the layers out that I've already marked in red, okay? Because I want you to see that when I say paint one thing on one layer, it doesn't have to do exactly with the hair, because that would take 7 kabillion layers, all right? So what you want to do is you don't want to paint everything on one layer, and you don't want to paint one thing on one layer. So let me first make a point. Let me just click to this and hit the V key, and I'm going to move out that hair that's over here. And let me deselect that. So what I want to do is move this up a bit and then zoom out just a little bit. Now, I'm going to put that back in. So you can see when I hit Command or Control Z, you can see that that actually went, oh, let me go one more and back in. Now let me click to this one. Let me see which one this is. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it out. Now, you can see the reason it's doing that is because I'm in the Move tool and I had a selection active and I didn't mean to have a selection active, okay? There is an amount of texture. There's an amount of strokes that I put on one layer. Now, if I zoom in, I want you to see when that comes back, how much that affected this area. So I'm going to hit Command Z to put that back in and Alt Command Z to actually, or Option Command Z to put it right back in. Now I'm just going to turn off the layer. So I'm going to click it off. So each layer that I'm going to click off helps a certain section to become alive. Now, let me turn off all of these layers a little bit at a time just to show you what actually makes up the hair. So let me just keep on turning them off, and let's go down and turn off all the hair in that layer. Look at how many layers it's taking me to get to the bottom of that hair. As you're looking, the more strokes, let me go ahead and say this, the lower the layers, the darker the strokes. Did you hear what I said? So we're going to look to see what makes up hair. What makes up hair first are the darker underneath strokes, and then usually the highlight layers or the lighter strokes are on top. Pretty much never changes from whatever color, brunette, blonde, redhead. It's always pretty much the same. So let me just turn on all these layers again, and we can see here just how that actually ends up past the 70% completion stage. That ends up looking good. Now, couple of little strokes that I want to show you, couple little things. When you're painting in the B key, that's an awful big brush, so let me toggle it down. Just because I have a brush that big doesn't mean the stroke that's going to come out of it is that big. But I want you to see how my flow, instead of only being on 8, is on 50, and I could put it on 100. But I'm actually going to hold down the Option key, and I'm going to grab a tone of this hair right here. Okay? Now watch what happens when I press very lightly on this. Watch how I'm actually to get a pretty decent stroke coming off my screen, and look at how I can press very lightly. I have not altered the size of that circle, but yet I can hold it down really hard or come in very lightly. Now, the smaller I make the circle, or the smaller I make the diameter of the brush, the more control on tapered hair that I have. Now look at how I can paint, and look at how I can start aligning or painting in strokes of hair on one layer. Now I'm not going to keep, that's obviously right there in that area. Let me zoom in. Right there in that area, I've put in 15 or 20 strokes. Well, I'm going to keep on going in that when I actually go to her hair, the model that we're working on our face. But you can see just how I can actually start making the thin hairs come out of this. Now, remember, you can hold the R button, and in the R button you can flip the canvas around to paint in whatever stroke you feel like, in whatever direction. If you have an easier time painting horizontally and keeping your strokes nice, whether it's up strokes or convex or concave strokes, look at how I can keep that going in this direction. Now if I hit the R button, I can just flip it around and put it back in whatever direction that whoops, I have to turn it back around. I forgot to hit the B key afterwards. So now I can paint in this direction. Now, what I'm getting at is, depending on the reference, you're going to want to rotate with the R key to get back into, to get to the area that to get to the angle, sorry, that you want to paint in. Now, when you want to reset that, just come up to the R key and hit the reset or reset view, and it'll go back to normal. Now on, I hope I was painting, you know what, I never painted on the practice hair layer. I made a layer and silly me never painted on it. So I'm just not going to save this file once I'm done because, again, silly me was painting on. Let me see, I'm going to hold the V key and I'm going to right hand click on that and see where I was actually painting. So let me deselect V key, right hand click. That should be going to a right hand click. So I'll control click it, thank you. And it's going to over here on the left. And let me see, well yes, I naturally know, but I don't know which one of these layers that silly me was painting on. Gosh, it could have been the last one that I was actually selected on. So let me try again. Oh, I was painting on that layer where, oh nope, because that's moving everything on the parent layer. So let me go to the V key. I don't know why this isn't cooperating. I have to keep on hitting Command Z back. I'm going to hold the Control key and get real close. And I just want to see what layer that's on. Layer 15. Okay, so let's turn this off. Yes, silly me was painting on that one layer. Here, I'll show it. I was painting on the one layer that I was working on here. See? Okay, I'm going to Command Z back. No big deal. I just won't save the file. So I'm going to close this file, and I'm not going to save. We're going to start on this young lady. So what I need to do on this hair layer is I need to actually make, and that really I should almost rename as my under hair. So I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to name it under hair. Now I'm going to make an over hair folder, and in the over hair folder I'm going to make a bunch of layers. And I'm just going to keep on making layers. I may end up with 100 layers in there. Need to click up to here, and I need to keep on clicking the layer button. Okay, I'm just going to start on the base layer. I'll probably start naming these layers later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in with painting. I need to remind you of something. We are going to use layer masks to take away the hair strokes that we don't want. But I'm going to turn on her layer right here, and if I zoom into this, you can see that underneath her light hairs are the dark hairs. This hair color right here. So underneath here, we have hair strokes in dark. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start filling area. Now I've decided that I'm going to show you strokes on screen, but I may go to a movie. I may not talk during that time when I'm actually putting in the thin strokes and changing layers, so you may see layers change. I'm going to actually go into After Effects and I'm going to fast forward those layers so we can watch all the hair strokes getting painted. Then when I want to slow it down, I'll actually talk. So at this point, let me just see where I want to begin. So let's go down to the bottom. Let's back out of this a bit. And you will get a rhythm. You will get a rhythm that will start to work for you. So you know what? I'm going to begin on the inner side right here, right in this area. I'm going to start putting all of those strokes in. So let's start the whole process. Let's click on the bottom layer. Let's hit the B key. Let's zoom in to right here. I'm going to hit the R button because I want to paint this in a way of going in like this. So I'm going to move this up. I'm going to back off on it just a little bit. Okay, just a little bit too much. Okay, now let me move it over. And now I'm going to hold the Option key down and I'm going to grab in the B key, I'm going to grab this color right about here, right there, and I'm going to start painting. Let me turn off this and make sure I'm on this bottom layer because I want to see the kind of stroke I'm going to get. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm now going to work back and forth, and I'm going to lay in this hair as I'm moving in. Now it's all one color on one layer. Now you can see what I'm doing, okay? So I'm going to actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to leave this on because I want my strokes to go in the right direction. Okay, I need to R button and turn this way. I'm sorry, the wrong way. I need to turn it this way. So I'm going to move my way a little bit farther up and down. Okay, so I'm going to hit the B button. I'll go up with a little bit bigger brush. Okay, now I'm going to start painting. And I can see that I'm painting in the right direction, and I can see where my stroke is on the screen, and I'm going to start putting it all in. So let's now just keep on going. You're going to have very strong patience. Now this is about the time when I'm going to stop talking. So I want you to first see when I turn this off that in a reasonable amount of time, look at how I'm going back and forth and I'm pressing down and up on, meaning I'm just dragging across my Wacom tablet, and now you can see what I've got is I've got all of those strokes starting to go in. And it's going to take me about, another 40 minutes to get probably the whole side of that head done. So let's just keep on going, and I think what I'm going to do at this point is just keep on going. Maybe I won't go fast forward because I'm putting them in at a pretty good pace. Okay, so you can see how I'm putting them in nice, long, sweeping strokes. You're going to have to work sections. So I'm going to double click this and I'm going to call this dark hair. Actually call it dark strokes. Underscore lower. I'm going to say left because it's my left, okay? And now I'm going to keep on going. Now when I want to change to this direction over here, please watch in a minute how I'm going to put that folder underneath this folder. Doesn't that make sense to you that I should put that folder underneath this folder? So let's keep on going. And then when I change color, like when I do the light strokes, I'm going to go to a different layer because I can put light strokes and keep them going really too far and then make my brush bigger on a layer mask, and I can make them really fade out. And there is the beautiful key to what you want to work on. So it's going to take you half a day to a day to get all the hair done. Let's see how we're doing so far. So you can see in that area how I have all the dark strokes done. I need more dark strokes in this area. And the more linear I get them and the nicer that they work out, meaning I'm using my reference to chart my direction. Now let's start just a little bit of a sweep out this way. Okay, it's time to go to a new layer. Can always come back to that layer. Now, I want to change direction, so let's go to this layer, put it underneath that layer, and I'm going to double click it and hit Command C. Now I'm going to double click this one, and I'm going to hit Command V, and I'll hit put a number 2 after it, and I'll save the file. Goodness gracious, make sure you save the file all the time. Now let's figure out a good direction to put these dark strokes in. Obviously, I don't like that direction, so let's now take the R key and let's go flip it around until I get it to that's a good direction for me. Now, see how I can go, if I hit the B button, watch how me painting on this, I'm painting with the same dark color. In fact, let me go Option click and grab that dark value right there. Now, please watch how I can just come in here. I can even go past this area. See where I'm touching here and here and here and here? I can go past this area with these strokes because I can use a layer mask to stop them from showing up. My phone thinks that I want to talk to Siri.
I can only take that request while you're listening to a song or podcast.
I'm sorry, Siri thought I wanted to talk to her. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, let me move this up now. Okay, so I'm going to start these strokes over here. Then I'm going to start these strokes in here. Okay, now let's go see how we've done. So see how I'm starting those strokes in here? I admit that doesn't look very good. It's not supposed to at this point, okay? It's not supposed to. I'm putting in the foundation for all of these strokes. And by the way, if I right-hand click on this brush, I have my hardness not quite hard, not quite soft. It's about a third over to the softness part, okay? So let's continue on. Now I'm actually going to take this little section that we're working on. You see how if I go underneath that, do you see how I can have my strokes going in this direction for the underneath ones? So it is going to take really a lot of patience for you to actually work these areas and get past the whole feeling about it not looking good. So I'm just going to continue to work these sections here. I'm going to wrap it right underneath her face. Continue to work back and forth. Now let's continue to see how I'm doing. Okay, that's not looking too bad. And I'm going to now start the process. Let's now just work this. Let's keep this going right through here. Let me move this up. And let's see what's going on right in this area here. So let me turn this back on. Okay, that's where I need to use layer masks to really, you see this beautiful hair that goes over the top of it? I'm going to do that on a different layer. Okay, so I'm going to come in like this. And I'm going to paint those strokes coming in like this. Now, I'm going to put a new layer directly on top of that, but underneath the other layer, meaning underneath this layer. So on this one, I actually want to say lighter, medium strokes. Medium strokes. Underscore. Nope, I missed the underscore. Underscore lower left. Let's save the file. Now, I'll option click and I'll grab this lighter value right about, let me make sure I'm grabbing it correctly, right about there. Let's see about that one. No, I don't want it that bright. I want it this dark. Whoops. I'm going to zoom in and get the right one. So I want this tone right here. Okay, so let's zoom back out. At one point, I am going to stop talking. So I want you to see what I'm going to do here. Now, let's start the process of putting this on. So let's start this and just start our little bit of coloring, our little bit of stroking. I'm pushing hard and then soft. And now let's see what that's looking like so far. Okay. I mean when I say this is going to take a lot of patience on your part, okay? It really is, because we're going to use so many different techniques to soften the strokes. Maybe I'll put a slight Gaussian blur on some of these layers. I still don't want to do these strokes in that direction, so let me see what I'm doing here. Okay, let's come in like this, and let's just keep this going. Let me see now what that looks like. Okay, that's not bad. That needs to feather out and round off real nice. There, that's looking good there. Let's round off a few here. I'm obviously not trying to get it perfect. There's no way I could do each individual hair exactly the way that she has them on her reference, but it's going to appear as if I am. It's going to appear just fine. Now obviously all of these strokes, see that area that's underneath? I may have to go back to the undertone and darken that. See, I may have to actually go in and darken that. So let's just be patient. Now let's come in like this. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, let me move the space bar up. And now let's go in. I'm going to grab this medium stroke, double click it, Command C. Let's make a new layer above it. Double click, Command V, number 2, and save the file. Now, I think what I'm going to do is make a darker one. I haven't done anything on this one. And I'm going to go to this one and double click this one. Command C, and I'm going to click on this one and hit Command V, and I'm going to say number 3. Now that one should go underneath everything. So let's make sure it does. Let me move the layer palette down a little bit. And then the lighter one, or the medium number 2, should go, whoops, sorry. The medium number 2 should move down and go there. So let's go to the darker stroke. Let's turn on her reference, and I'm talking about these strokes underneath going in that direction. So let's take the R button, flip it around there. Now I can draw this in a good way going in this direction. Okay, and you can see them all underneath. So let's hold the Option key. Let's grab this dark value right there. And now I'm going to start making sure I'm on the right layer, which I am. And now let's start painting this. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. Let's look at that. Okay, I'm starting to get my hair direction going down there. Okay, let's go to the medium strokes now and see if I can get some of those medium colors to come up. So underneath here on a new layer, I'm going to start just laying in the medium strokes. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit too bright. And that's no big deal, because if I wanted them a little dimmer, look how I can just take it and just dim them like this, okay? So I could just take them and just give them a little bit more dimness. Now, let's hit the R button. Let's turn this back. Let's go Command Option minus and go back out. And let's hold the space bar and put it down. Now, you can tell this is starting to work. It's starting to give me the feel of what I want. There is a long way to go. Now, let's take the medium strokes, Command C, and if these are the strokes that are going in that direction off to this way, then let's now take the next one and let's double click it. And let's put in, what's my number now? It's going to be medium strokes number 3. I'll save the file. Let's turn on the reference. Let's now put in the, not the light, but the medium. So now I need to take the R button and turn this way, because I can paint really nicely in this direction, put it a little higher on the screen. Yeah, and let's grab, I'm thinking to myself, and let's hit the B button and hold the Option key and grab this medium value. And now I just need to wipe my hand off a little bit because that gets a little sticky. And now let's come in and now let's put in some of the medium strokes. So all you have to do is try to have a light touch on your brush. Let's put them in this direction. Always put them longer than you need. I haven't even started with the layer masking. Let's come in like this and put in this. And now I've started the medium strokes in this area. So now let's just feather some of this out. So what I want you to do is I want you to continue the process of going light, medium, and dark and working areas. Now let's hit the R button and let's turn this and let's hit the space bar and move it down. And then let's flip on and off this palette so we see what we've started to get going. And even more important, let's go Command minus a couple times so we can really see it from this distance, how we are starting to lay in that beautiful hair in layers. I haven't even gotten the lights in, and I haven't even used any layer masks. Okay, let me hit the B key so you don't see the R button rotate. So I'm going to have to use my directions, and I'm going to have to take these, and I may actually color code. See, if these two here, oh, I don't even know. Let me go close. I want you to see something else. Let me see what direction these two are going in. Okay, these two right here belong to each other. So I'm going to shift click both of these. We're going to right hand click on them, and I'm going to turn them into a certain color. Okay, now let me see these two strokes. Okay, that one goes that way. That one obviously goes that way. These are the dark and medium strokes, so I know they're together. So let's shift key click both of these. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Let's shift key click both of these, and let's right hand click and make them a different color. So now I know that these two belong together. Okay, now obviously that means that I don't think layer 62 is anything. I moved it up one too high. So these two are those two over there. So let's take this one, let's shift click this one, let's right hand click and make it be something different. So see how you can kind of keep your head together? So now we know, it doesn't matter where they are, just turn them off and you know that these two have a relationship to each other. So if I want to work on these and add light strokes to these, I'm actually going to start in on a new layer and I'll go Command C, I'm going to double click this one, and I'm going to hit Command V, but I'm going to remove the word medium, okay, boom, 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 and put in light. So let's leave that layer selected. Let's color it the same color, which is green. Save the file, and now I know I have my light strokes, which we're going to try to put in a few going in this direction. So let's turn this off. Turn on the clicky copy, hit the R button. Let's rotate this in about that rotation right here because I can feel real comfortable putting the light strokes in there. And now let us option click and with the B key, option click and grab this value right here. And now very gently, let's start putting in some of these light strokes. And then I want to put them in too far on purpose. And then I'm going to take in a second and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use a layer mask. Okay, let me now hit some just coming in here. And what's the beautiful part about it is, see, I see these little upper hairs going in every direction. Ignore the little flyaway hairs. Those are the later layers. Do you follow what I'm saying? So you can actually put in the flyaway hairs and the things that give it the human appearance. Let me come in here and do this one. This one's beautiful. Look at how pretty that is. So let's come in here and put in that light stroke. I'll even put a couple light strokes even where I know they're not. Now look at what I did. I actually came in and I put in all those light strokes. Now, I want you to see how that is going to look much better when I do something. So all I have to do is actually take it, and we are going to add a layer mask to that layer. So I want to come in, I want to deselect. I'm going to have to change the jitter of the brush because I want the brush to go bigger, and on a layer mask I definitely want to go gently. So I'm going to have to add my layer mask to this. I'm going to have to go into the brush palette, and kind of quickly I'm going to have to turn off my shape dynamics because I want it to be even as I paint. So I'm going to put this down to about 8 as we usually operate that. Now I can close the brush palette. Now if I were to just click to a new layer just to show you what I'm doing, I'm going to click to a new layer. I'll move it up here and I'll use this layer for a second. I'm going to grab a color. Just to show you, I'll paint this bright red right here. And look at how I can now paint the bright red exactly without anything. Look at how I can just paint it as normal with a wide brush. Now, I didn't change the softness of the brush, which I should have. So let me Command-Z that back and Option Command-Z that back until that's all gone. Actually, let me just throw away layer 69. There's a bunch of stuff I could have done there, but I'm just going to throw it away. Now, I'm going to right-hand click on this, and we are going to, whoops, sorry. I'm going to right-hand click on this, and we are going to go all the way soft. Hit the return key. Now, I want to click on the layer mask for this, and I want to make sure I'm painting in black with a bigger brush. So we're back to normal, right? Okay, look at how I can soften that hair stroke right there. Look at how I can take this side, whoops, I didn't want to do that, and look at how I can soften. Let me go down one here. I want to soften that highlight as it works. You know what? It went to, the reason why nothing was happening is because I did a stupid thing and it went to white. So now with black, look at how I can soften this. So very quickly you can see just what power you have over a layer that you've designated as all one. Let me move this down so I can kind of custom fit this. Let me turn this on and see what happens to that highlight right there. Okay, this is a little bit too bright, so we're going to knock this back. And now I have that beautifully knocked back. And now if I were to take and add a little bit of a Gaussian blur, look at how harsh that is. Boom, the harshness is gone. Okay, because you've now subtled it down, if that's the right word for it. So now let me just do it some more. And let's do it some more. Now that's only after 20 minutes or so of painting. So look at how we have started the process of painting that. When I come back, I want to show you how I'm going to continue and continue and continue and continue to play in and push that hair in the strokes that it needs. Whoops, that was my Wacom tablet hitting my computer. Let me hit the R button and put this back to reset view. And now let's move this down, and you can just see just how gentle. Let me turn the clicky copy on and off. Look at how gentle you can actually make that. So what I want to do when we come back on the next one is show that I'm going to Gaussian blur some of the bottom hairs, and I'll even duplicate. See, important. I can take this light stroke that I'm turning off and on, see it? I can Gaussian blur one underneath, so I can duplicate that layer. Gaussian blur the lower one, take the upper one, and even take more hair out so you see a beautiful finesse feather on that hair. So I wonder if I should show it now or if this movie is too much. Maybe I'll do it now. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to take and turn off the upper one. Okay. On the bottom one, I'm going to right-hand click and we're going to apply that layer mask. Whoops, sorry. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Okay, I have to go back to normal. Let me escape that and go back to control click on this and let is apply the layer mask. So on the bottom one, see how I've applied the layer mask. So let me zoom in and let us Gaussian blur that layer, which is the hair. Remember, it's not the hair that I totally, the highlight hair that is the main highlight hair. So let's go to blur and Gaussian blur that and make sure we're only Gaussian blurring that by a few pixels. So let me go to 0. Okay, now let's go only to about 4 pixels on it. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, a little bit more than 2, a little bit more than that. Okay, that's beautiful. Now, let me turn on the upper one. Now, on the upper one, let's click to the layer mask, let's hit the B key, and let me turn off the lower one. Now, I want to take the brush and make it bigger, and now we can actually take away more on the upper layer. Okay, now I'm taking away more of the un-Gaussian blurred hair. Now, let me show you both layers. Let's turn off this one and this one. Here comes the hair that's like that. Here comes the hair that's the upper hair. Now, what happened is it allowed itself to Gaussian blur out a little more. So let's hit Command 0. Let's hit the R button and reset the screen. And now you can see how that just looks like another 25 or 30 minutes with that area, and I'm going to be fairly happy with that area. Okay, it looks not bad, and it looks fresh, and it looks clean, and you just have to just stay with it. There's not even the flyaway hairs there. So let's continue to work areas, and that's what I want you to do. So I want you to see how I handled these color layers, these layers of dark, medium, and light. Okay? I'll see you in the next movie.